Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to a Wolfram Language Design Review, part of the Incremental Language Development series. ColumnMap. Boy, haven't I heard about this before? Didn't we consider ColumnMap like decades ago?
Yes, we
There is some
considered that, and I think I'm not sure this is the right name, but I think the functionality is different than what we had before, and the functionality we have described here is quite useful.
Right. Given a named column, do this to it.
Yep.
Right.
How does it relate
Or
to
a,
transform columns?
okay, so it relates to transform columns that it allows you to give the same function. It only works within a single column by itself, but you can give a bunch of columns and a function, and it
Okay,
just
let me
does it.
remind myself what transform columns does. Because transform columns, does this also allow you in that floor to have, it will have a default hash B, right? But can you also refer to hash A inside the floor?
No, you cannot. So that's why it's specific to a column. And that's the big difference.
Yes, in
And
transform columns, you have to repeat the name of the column you are acting on.
So, this sounds more like a column. I mean, I'm not sure map is the right name in general, but if we stick it to the map family, this sounds more like a column map at than a.
Yeah.
yeah,
And let me just understand something. So map at right now,
It can apply to columns. I think that we actually did that. So,
well, let's
like,
take
if
a
you
look. We
did
take
all
this
comma one,
tabular and we say F, and we say
yeah, it's
here,
not going to
comma
work.
A.
No, it would have to be all comma A if it worked, which I think it doesn't.
Okay, so that should probably work.
Yes, that should probably work. But
Um,
the one of the convenience syntaxes Nick did was not included here, and that is I could do, for example, column map of tabular list of A comma B goes to floor, or list of A comma B goes to sign. So you can specify multiple columns.
does map at take patterns?
no, and I don't think it really should. Right? It
You
takes.
sure?
Right. None of the at
I know,
thing.
but that's the question.
And you're right. And then it becomes even more inherently ambiguous, right? What's the scope of that pattern, right? Is it a list? Is it a list of things?
Right.
Right. So
Yeah.
There is a ref page for ColumnMap, a featureized ref page, if you want to look at.
Yeah, it has more examples there.
And I'll just mention the syntax here is a little bit like cast columns, but it's a more general thing than just allowing a type conversion.
I think the argument order is wrong. If it's a map, the argument order is wrong.
Well, that's why I'm saying I'm not sure we have the right name for the function. I think for a tabular function, the argument order is right and it's consistent.
Perhaps it should be map columns to make it closer to transform columns or construct columns. Map at columns.
Bit weird. But I agree that what is really going on here? If it's tabular first, which is not obvious it should be, people are going to get confused. If it's map column, they're going to get confused.
Mm-hmm. So this function sits between map and transform columns. So of course, they have different order.
not a good name.
Mhm.
Okay, but so the basic idea here.
I would say the basic idea is avoiding to repeat the column name and avoiding hash, ampersand, function, etc.
Right.
Yeah, I tend to think of this as an extension of the transform or not, the cast columns function, but we don't want cast columns to be
Well,
fed
it's
arbitrary
actually an
functions.
extension. It's a convenient form for transform columns, basically,
Right,
is what
yeah.
it is.
Mhm.
You can
Like-
always write this in terms of transform columns, but sometimes you have to, it's awkward to put in the right hash and all that stuff.
It should be something where transform columns is obvious generalization. This is no good. What is the family around transform columns?
Transform columns and construct columns.
And then delete columns, rename columns,
Oh.
insert columns.
By the way, I was confirming that we actually did implement this in MapAt, but right, you can do you need an extra level of list, right? But you could do all comma and then a list of columns. So you can't do alternatives, but you can do a list of columns.
I see.
Another possible precedent is time series map, in which we have the list of column arrow function in the first argument.
Well, we could call it tabular map.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not a bad name at all, actually.
Mm-hmm. Like that.
But so in time series map, what's the argument order? Isn't
It's
it
function first,
Function first, yeah.
what I thought?
because we conform to the legacy, which is fine. I mean, it's fine to have it first, but I think it might confuse people versus transform columns or something like that.
It might, but we can't have it second, not in this.
Right. But map in the name implies first. And if it doesn't have columns in the name, that's okay. And presumably the operator form would still just be the first argument then.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I've got no objections to that.
I'm just thinking, is there anything else tabular map could mean? I mean, how analogous is it to time series map?
Time series map is more like transform columns.
No, I would say it's like tabular map, right? Is what we want to do here. It's a function.
It's the column name, it's a component number, and it's a function applied to that component, right?
No, it's a function applied to all the components.
Yes, you're right.
Well, I understand. In what sense? Creates a new time series. No, that first form, just F, comma, tests.
Yeah.
Well, we could have that form also for tabular map. Depends on what you're using the tabular for. That might be useful in tabular. But the second form.
But which column does that apply to?
All of them, all columns, just like it does
Okay.
here.
But then that would just be like, that would be like map of tabular,
Is it?
which is, well, map of tabular doesn't work, but that's how it should work. It would apply F to all the rows of tabular.
That's to all the rows, which is different. This is to all the elements, just like time series. See, this is doing
I
what...
see. You're going, okay, yeah. No, yes, that's fine. Yes, I see. You're right. You're right. It's different, Stephen. So yes.
I don't know why we're saying ncom here. I mean, this is just columns.
It's to represent the new column, because sometimes you use com as the existing ones, and ncom is the new ones.
With the same timestamps and components. But this
Yes,
is taking an existing component
yes. In this
and
case,
doing just like the tabular map case.
yes. Yes, you're right. In this case, it could be the old one. Yeah.
So I think that documentation should be kind of updated a little bit there.
Yes. In transform columns is we create new ones, which could exist, but the main point is to create new ones. So I think this is taken from there.
And in some sense, we could have time series map do the same thing we're proposing tabular map to. I mean, the documentation is not clear enough that if we changed it, would that be a serious backward incompatibility?
We're not changing anything. I mean, isn't it the same? What's that usage?
No,
there?
see, there's a times. Look at the pound A plus pound C. So it's like a transform columns thing.
No, that's not. You're not right. You're not right, because this isn't. The point is, there's two usages here.
Mm-hmm.
What the heck is it doing there? Which columns does it make there?
Well, it makes so remember with our time series, our backward compatibility hack was to basically have two cases, one with a single column, which we always call value. Okay, and then the other case where we had multiple components, which are like columns in a tabular. So that example with the pound A plus pound C is making the single column value. So if you did tabular of that, you'd see timestamp and value as the columns.
I don't understand this example. This example looks really silly to me. What's that 0 doing there?
That's the starting time.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so that time series map is creating a time series with one column, which is just value.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, I understand the issue. The incompatibility is, does the first argument go and rodentify, as one says? I haven't used that word too often in recent years. Okay, so if I now say time series map of F onto that, and now I say tabular of that, I see that applied F to every row, basically.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Which is fine. I mean, that's what we expect. Now, I see, to produce a single result. By the way, that's not the best behavior. Why does that happen? Why is it not? Well, I don't understand what I'm. Oh, I see. I can probably move that. Can I move that? How do I?
I think
how
if
do
you
I...
select the upper part.
Oh yeah, there. Why doesn't that border? That's the thing for user assistance. Could we bring that up? Why that border doesn't have a movability as well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think this is pretty reasonable. So here's what I suggest. Okay, the form where the first argument is a list of rules does the thing that time series map also does. Well, does it? I mean, the time series map,
No,
but okay, but it could, because there's no other meaning to that. So it could be time series map of, A goes to blah, which will be useful, right? And
Right.
then this basically goes and does that operation just on that column. Okay.
yes. Yes,
And then
we could change,
tabular,
and that would actually be a useful, a
I
good
agree.
use for time series map, because it's
Right.
not useful compared to transform columns now.
Right.
Yeah,
Because
right.
transform
So
column
I recommend that. Okay. So then
Okay.
this
Mhm.
becomes, f of hash or whatever it is, just f. Okay, then tabular map with a single argument like this, right, would apply that to the rows.
Okay. But
Okay,
all goes to F would apply to the columns.
that's correct.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's correct. So tabular map is very similar to map of tabular. It's the same as tabular of map of normal, basically, of tab, I believe. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty reasonable meaning for that. Sandra on our live
And
stream is asking, would tabular map also work on a normal list of rules? I think the answer is yes. I think we might as well have that work.
yes, we can have it work on anything that we call, tabularizable. So that'll be
Right.
like, a lot of the other commands.
Yeah. A list of associations.
Yeah. Well, or a
Yeah.
list of rules probably too.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. I like this very much. I think this is a good idea.
Okay, so it's tabular map.
I think
Okay.
so. I think it makes perfect sense. It goes with time series map and so on, has the same structure. My guess is we're going to end up with other star map functionality for other things. I don't know whether there's a geo version of this and who knows what else, but I like this. Any objections,
Okay.
guys?
No.
No, I think it's great.
Okay. All right.
Right. Rob, that's all we need you for. You're welcome to hang around if you want to. But so this next
Okay.
section.
Well, I'm curious to see what some of these hallucinated functions are. So.
Yep. So this is part of our inventory of some of the telemetry we have from different large language models about, what code it's suggesting for Wolfram language. And this is basically our first pass on the telemetry we had up to a certain point last year.
Okay.
And these are functions that don't exist, but it tried to use as if they exist. This first section here are what I'm calling alias functions. They're functions that don't exist, but they have an immediate or semi-immediate system counterpart. Brian's here, I think. I talked to him and Avery and
Sounds
on
to
a
me
couple
like
of
we
lists.
should just tag these things better and have the LLM know that that's what, if it thought it was doing whatever.
Mhm. Some of them are straightforward. So like I've added synonyms for take largest and take smallest to partial sort or split to group consecutive.
Honestly, clamp might have been a better name for clip.
Yeah, I mean, clamp range is certainly a common turn of phrase for the operation. Other ones like if else is basically a vectorized if statement, which we can do with element wise if, but I don't know.
But okay, let's take each of these in turn.
Yeah.
Okay, what does partial sort do?
So partial sort is basically give me the beginning or end.
Okay, by
and
partial we mean it's not the whole sorted list, it's just a piece of the sorted list.
yes, it is specifically oriented towards either the largest n elements or smallest n elements.
I
So
like
obviously,
take largest and take smallest better.
yes, I think those are more descriptive names. Partial sorting is what is a common general term for the operation. So that one I think is relatively straightforward.
I didn't know that,
Mhm.
but that should be prominent, Brian, on documentation pages.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what we're discussing here is how to make that prominent both to users and to LLMs. Right. I think there's certainly a good discussion to be had here about which of these names we like better and if any of these names we want to implement, but making sure that the LLMs don't keep doing this is my understanding was that was what we needed to discuss here. Maybe that's just a tagging play though.
Yeah, I mean, I think tagging absolutely makes sense. Any of these that didn't already have, I mean, none of these had synonyms or keywords that lined up, so I've already added those to the ref pages. But in some cases, I'm not sure that is going to be sufficient for all of them.
Okay,
Lots of them are
let's
trivial.
yeah, let's just grind through.
Mhm.
Group consecutive. Well, it's a nice name for split, but
Mhm.
it's not what we've used.
Yeah.
Okay, what is if else
So
supposed
that's
to be?
vectorized if
What does that mean?
basically argument wise, I mean, if you just, yeah, if you open that subset.
Well, is it really the same in terms of attributes of effective?
What am I opening? There's no subsection here.
Oh, okay. I must have lost that. So if you take,
Is it just a variable argument if statement? Is that what it is?
It's not var args, but basically you supply a list to each argument that would be inside if. So an if with a list of Boolean values, and then either a single value would return, or a corresponding list of true values and false values.
What are you talking about? So
this is a listable if. Now write three positive results and 3 negative results.
Mm-hmm. Or you could say 3 and 0.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if you wrap if
and
in
so
element
that
wise,
should be is supposed to be. So why is this not pick? Isn't this basically pick? No. What's the Boolean analog of pick? I mean, this is basically that.
Yeah, or
no,
as I said, it's also element wise of if. If we treat these as if they are columns, then element wise of if with that same input will just give you the desired result.
Which same input? Element wise
of the input above.
Of this.
Yep. Should give you A, Y, C.
So element wise effectively makes functions listable.
Right. Although I think this is not exactly equivalent, because if those were conditions, then you're going to be evaluating everything. Although maybe that's unavoidable, but
that's what we actually do in the tabular sense. We actually do go ahead and evaluate everything because it's so much faster than trying to do it one by one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's implemented for the tabular case by using sort of like a missing fallback. But it's super useful for tabular type of things to have this. So if you just give the function, if your function is, if pound A is less than 1, choose pound B or pound C or something like that.
Sorry, but what were you saying?
So as a transform column functions, you might have, function of if of, say, hash A is less than 1, then you choose hash B or hash C, depending on that, for example.
Right. But that's a different thing. That works fine. That's just a column. That's just a thing. In the modern world, we would say tabular map of this onto the tabular.
Well, no, it's a transform columns thing, because it uses all the columns instead of just a single column at a time. But yes, but the thing is, that's implemented through this element-wise if.
But that has to transform columns has to have a thing here that says new column, arrow, whatever, right?
Right.
Or existing column.
But again, you're not worried about side effects. I mean, I have no idea how the if else was actually used, but if the true sort of listable if would only evaluate the things that so if there are any side effects, maybe we don't care, but I'm just pointing out that's a difference between
Well,
a theoretical results and element-wise effect.
if there are side effects, we use the slow evaluation. So we
Okay.
evaluate the predicate list and then do it one by one. If there's good evidence there are not side effects, then we do it the fast way.
Okay. Right, but I'm just presuming that element-wise well, I suppose element-wise could have now attribute subvalue hold all and actually make this work if we wanted it to, but
Why doesn't element-wise pick up the attributes of the thing that it is element-wising?
We thought about that, but and I can't remember the exact reasons, but it
the
turned
reason
out
we
to be
didn't have
quite problematic.
Okay, but Rob, we didn't have sub-value holding at the time when we thought about that.
That's true. That's true.
I think we should
right.
think
I
about
mean,
it again.
I still don't think it could necessarily pick up all of them, but we could certainly pick, have it simulate at least most of the.
I think we should look at that. Now, in terms of this operation, I'm really not seeing this. I don't think this is that important.
Yeah, I mean, a partial solution to some of these is to make a WFR for them, and then our documentation can plug in there, which is kind of what I was thinking with these cases where it's not a one-to-one mapping.
I mean, sorted queue might have been a good name for ordered queue.
Yeah, I think it's an obvious synonym. Same with distinct queue and duplicate free queue.
Well, the reason we call it duplicate free queue is because we have delete duplicates.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't think, maybe group consecutive, maybe clamp are cases where those are names that might have been nicer in the first place, but we're not changing function names that are that well established.
Well, I mean, we can always add a name.
Yeah,
we can always add something. But
yeah, sorry, I mean, I don't want the default solution to be we just make a second function that does the same thing that the previous function did for convenience.
Listen, concatenator map is something that I use all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or people use map with flatten somewhat regularly as well.
Right. It's also join at map of blah. Right.
Yeah. There are lots of ways to do it, and there are lots of idioms. It's on the bubble for me whether it's worth looking at having a dedicated function for it.
I think it might
flat
be.
map.
I think that one might be.
Name. Okay.
I'm not sure flat map is the right name, but it's not a terrible name.
Or flattened map. Flat map is probably better than flattened map.
I'm not sure it's right because it suggests flat is the map itself which is flat rather than the result is being flattened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jumping up a couple, I think we might have skipped over partial apply. That's one where you can obviously do it with operator applied or curate applied, depending.
Well, what does it actually do?
I mean, partial application is basically just the, like add to is a classic partial application function. It's taking a general function and providing fixed arguments with a variable argument that goes in. But it's basically just.
So what are you proposing for partial apply?
Oh, I don't necessarily think partial apply needs to be a standalone function, but it's a little hard to bind directly to operator applied or curate apply.
Sorry, I mean, operator applied of F. I have to remember how it works here. Right. Why does that work that way?
Yes, curate applied is the one that keeps the order. Operator applied changes the order.
Because most operator forms.
Right, and curate applied requires a number. This is something that Roman requested. So the second bracket is the number of arguments. So f bracket 2, and then xy.
F comma 2, I think you meant.
Yeah,
Jose.
that's comment.
Yeah. Right. And this
Right.
preserves the order.
That's pure currying.
Exactly. Yes.
So
An
in
operator
the-
applied is the standard idea that we typically carry the second argument. But it has a second argument also in which you can specify the order in which you want arguments.
Okay, so
in
what
which
would
arguments.
partial apply do?
So I put a version in chat, a really trivial version, but
Oh, for God's sake.
sorry, I have the inputs there. That obviously doesn't typeset nicely.
Yeah,
but
yeah, right. Oh, for God's sake. What is all this garbage?
Sorry, I copied the outputs as well, so that's mad at me.
Partial apply plus comma 1.
So it's basically just defining a
A
singleton
function
function.
by what? By the curried arguments that it is? I'm very confused. If
Yeah,
I
so-
said comma 3 here,
Right, then
What
it would
would it
add 3.
It would add 3. It would be a
Right.
add.
It's defining a function that's right. It's basically what's the term?
It's fixing arguments to a function and then giving you an operator to
Right,
feed other arguments.
yes, but there's a programming word for this, right? When you have right, you have a function where you've filled in some of the things and it's ready to eat more things.
Yeah, it's a partial function or a partial application. Is the term
No,
I'm familiar with.
there's a real word for this. Sorry, but yes.
but I don't understand what's the difference between this and the partial apply thing. I don't understand it. What's the point? That you're taking, I mean, I just don't get it. I don't get the point. I mean, this would be, it's like saying plus of 3 comma blob. Well, the blob might as well be a hash. Is it? Isn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's another form of function generation.
So this
Yeah,
is
but-
so we've got functions where you can make operator forms already, right? This is just
Yeah.
genericizing that to anything.
How? I don't understand. How does it make? I don't understand. Is it a way? It's a way of making a pure function, a new way of making a pure
Yes.
function. But how does it work? I guess I read the code. Partial apply function. This isn't like a closure type thing.
Closure. That's the word I was
Closure,
looking for.
Okay.
Okay, so hold on. Right. So this is saying after the arguments that have been specified, add
Wait.
more arguments.
Yes.
Oh boy. I mean, this is weird because the head is sitting right there. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is. It's a slightly strange construct in that
That's a
way,
good
and that's
idea.
why it
I mean,
doesn't.
it would just be plus of 3 hash hash, and then
Mhm.
you're good.
Yes.
Well, actually, it's different than that. I mean, that's a problem I see with this partial apply. You have a bunch of arguments, and then you can add one more, but why shouldn't you be able to add n more if you want?
Hash
Well, he has
plugs
a
in.
pound there.
Well, the hash works, but Nick's function doesn't do that.
Yes, it does. It has args triple blank. Yeah. Oh no, it doesn't.
No,
Okay,
it had
no,
the
yeah.
one.
Okay.
There's only one more. Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
all
So
right.
that's quite different.
Well, but this will work in its nice syntax, and I think we've solved the problem. And I think it's just a question of having the LLM understand the solution.
Okay. Yeah. I'll keep that in the queue of something that we just need to alias
Okay.
tag.
Okay. Sliding partition. Partition with overlap. Isn't that partition with a comma 1? I mean, I do it all the time. Oh. Oh, what the heck? It's just the same thing, right? This is just partition.
Right. This is
With an
partition
offset. Yeah.
with sufficient with sufficient arguments to
Actually,
overlap.
I literally can copy that.
Yeah.
I literally
I
just
suppose,
copy
yeah.
that. Fancy that.
Okay. Yeah. This
The
one
word
probably.
sliding falls off into the ocean.
Yeah. This one should have been in the section above with the.
Right. The big question is whether LLMs are smart enough to understand our incredibly complicated partition.
All 9
series.
arguments of partition.
Right.
Well, I think that we should look at an association version of partition. That's what I think we should do.
Yes, that might make it possible to decipher.
Right. So can we put that on the docket, please, to
we
try and come up
put
with
it on the docket. If we had, if I had any resources to work on that, then something would
Okay.
happen.
All right. Okay. Fine. Ask an LLM what it has to say about it. Interleave list. I mean, I admit I do this all the time. Of transpose.
But isn't
it's
that
kind of
riffle?
like
It's similar to riffle. I mean,
it's not the same as riffle because it's dealing with multiple lists.
Oh, I see. It's multi-arg riffle.
yeah, it's multi-arg riffle would be another name. Interleaving is the name I immediately thought of with it.
So this is like transpose of a ragged array.
Yes.
Potentially, yeah.
Well, what happens if one of these things is missing? Okay, everything
now
fell
it's-
off there.
Yeah, I mean these are quick implementations I had based on looking at the logs we have for how they were used and what the expected output would be.
Oh, it's buggy even if I put that in. So who knows? Okay, but the basic point is I mean, basically, okay, so what are we looking at? It's a join of it's a flatten of a transpose.
Yeah.
So the idea would be
Yeah.
interleave list 1, list 2, list 3. And if they're not the same length, what the heck do we do?
Well, that's that. I think that this would. I haven't tested it yet, but I think this might work with our current flatten with the second list argument.
I see.
It seems there is a padding, right? So this would be like you first complete to the hull dimensions, then transpose, and then remove what you added. That's
Well, that's what the flatten, the generalized flatten does.
But doesn't it require an array as well?
No, it doesn't require it uses this thing which I called hull dimensions, HULL dimensions.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
2, 1. Let's see if it actually works on that example. Oh dear.
I don't, yeah. Look, I think interleave is somewhat interesting.
Yeah, it's a better name than, I mean, nobody would figure out the flatten thing. So an interleave that does that would be great.
Yeah, I'll work on mocking up something that's more robust and we can see what the overlap with the flatten functionality is with the whole flatten or whole dimension flatten.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
right, Rob.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, flattening can handle ragged arrays. I didn't know this.
Yeah. Oh, it can. So
What-
I spent a
what
lot
is
of
the
time on
case?
that, many, many moons ago. So
What's
Yeah,
the point? What?
I put in the chat some simple examples. So that's performing a transpose, even though it's not an array.
Oh my gosh.
Is this documented?
Yep.
I mean, I suppose in general, the inputs to flatten aren't arrays, so it makes a certain amount of sense, but
Sorry, I just have to be.
Yeah, and if you just give 2, 1 in a list without the extra lists, it actually does the flattening as well. So it does the transpose and then the flattening.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think interleave is interesting. Okay.
This one I'm less sure about. I mean, it's an operation that's attempted in a number of inputs, but it basically is using string white space characters to handle alignment. We already have grid and column constructions to do this, but it's basically looking at.
It's ASCIIfied version of this.
Yes, it's an ASCIIfied version of it. And there's a variant of it I did just kind of while playing around with this, which is kind of the opposite, maybe not opposite operation, but the delimiter alignment subsection there is saying, using give a delimiter within the strings and add white space to align.
Okay, I think this should be part of, we're going to have some kind of summit meeting about grid, tabular, et cetera, and all of their annotations and so on. I think we should add this to that discussion as the ASCIIfied version of that.
Okay. Yeah.
Don't we have, isn't it file byte count?
We have file byte count. We also have file size.
What the heck?
File byte count
size?
gives you a count in bytes. File size gives you a quantity of whatever with reasonable units based on the size of the object.
I had no recollection of file size.
I think that's an ILD function from, about 9 years ago.
Well, I think directory size would be a fine thing to have.
Yep. I believe Itai, is there other than there being potential ambiguity with things like symlinked directories, I feel like there was some reason I was trying to dig back up that there may be
there's
complications.
probably some option for symlinking.
Yeah.
Sandra says he's used that syntax of flatten, but it's a hedge scratcher when it's more than 2 dimensions. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Head scratching is not something LLMs do very well.
right. I mean, right. It would, I mean, right. Such a directory size is sort of inherently slow, right? And then there's like, do you follow symlinks?
Yeah, right. So we have to decide. We have to have a thing which determines whether it follows symlinks.
There may be, right. Do you cross file system boundaries? Do you,
There are issues, but I think we should have it.
Yeah, I mean, there are obvious
have.
precedents that operating systems typically have.
And don't forget to have a progress monitor for it. If it's going to grind through, if it's, start from the root type thing. I mean, it might be clever. It might use DU or something if it starts, or whatever, DF. No, what is that, the thing?
It's DU, but
DU,
it's... But DU basically traverses the directory structure, right?
No,
There's just no way
DF
to do it.
would give you the whole, would just give you in one fell swoop, it would tell you the whole usage on that partition.
Correct.
Yeah, that's drive based on partition.
Okay. Counts by, oops, background noise.
We have counts by, we don't have.
Well, we have counts and we have counts, which I think is just fine.
Yep.
Well, counts by and count are two completely different functions.
Yeah. The singular form we don't have a by version of, and
I know,
the
I
plural
understand.
form we have both.
So I'm thinking, yeah. What is that pattern doing?
Count takes a pattern,
Yep.
right?
No,
Right,
a
and there's
pattern.
no
Yeah,
level,
yeah,
and
yeah,
there's no
pattern.
levels, and there's no level spec here, which I think
But I don't
I don't think
understand
this
this.
is
I
the
don't understand
function.
what the by is doing.
Well, according to that definition, it's right.
I'm
It's
just looking at
applying
it
f
now.
It's applying the
prior to
function there. Yeah.
yeah, it's applying the function prior to pattern matching. But again,
It seems silly. I mean,
this
why
is
isn't it just
restricted to
map
level.
that function onto the thing and then do a count?
I mean, that's ultimately what it's doing here.
Oh, that's what it is. I'm
Yeah.
reading the code now. That's exactly what it does. I'm
Yeah.
not interested in this function. I don't think it's useful.
Okay.
Well, the window function is something Carlo wants to desperately do for tabular stuff, which we haven't figured out.
Sorry, who wants that?
Carlo
Okay.
Barbieri.
Yeah, okay. Well, we should talk about that.
Yes.
And windowing across rows, or will it window across columns?
Well, it windows across rows. So you have some way of specifying you want to do,
I see.
groups of rows together.
But it's clearly relevant for time series and so on.
Oh yeah, definitely be relevant for time series.
That's weird.
It is a little weird. I mean, we obviously
That's
can.
just weird.
Again, this is a really trivial fold of
It's
function. This one was, I considered slightly on the other side of the bubble of alias functions because it isn't really the same thing as apply.
No, but it's more like one of those head functions that is, it's like compose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think this is weird. I don't think people want these.
Okay.
I mean, unless I see. I see. This is a full form version of slash slash.
Yes. Yeah, that's probably a better way to.
Full form version of slash slash.
5 slash slash square root slash slash n.
I see.
That's not completely useless, actually. Although you'd never write it in a piece of code because you just write 5 slash slash square root slash slash n. The question is, do you need to construct it in some way? And I'm skeptical. I mean, the case where it's going to be of interest is where the list of functions is of variable length or something like this, where you're mapping over some, I don't see it. Don't see
Right,
it.
and
And you
right.
can't do it with this anyway because it's Verilog's.
Yeah, I mean, I had initially thought, oh, an operator form would be useful, but it would have to be operator only.
And
Yes.
wouldn't
That's
that
Verilog's.
then just be compose right?
That would be compose right, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's again kind of in an awkward spot. So these
Okay,
are
we
two.
should look at this separately. I think I
Okay.
should go, but
So the one thing that I wanted to bring up here before we go, so Nick had mentioned using synonyms, and I think that's a great thing that we can do here. I wonder if we might want to do something more, such as like in the markdown for these pages, maybe saying something as explicit as an LLM confused this function for this. So because synonyms are kind of vague, but
fair enough.
something
Well, we should
explicit in there
experiment with
might,
that.
yeah.
Yes, I mean,
Or
we
I also
haven't done
mentioned
that.
this.
this function might also be called sorted queue, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's worth experimenting with, and we haven't yet diverged the markdown with commentary like that. I mean, it's just like we had considered at one time adding in design notes that would be useful for humans understanding things. This is kind of the analog of that for LLMs,
Mm-hmm.
and that seems
Yeah, I'll just
useful.
mention the pad with reflection is just array pad too.
Oh.
Another analogy.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, I think that's a more general thing of adding, commentary, design commentary for LLMs.
Yeah, I'll coordinate with Brian and also Avery, and we'll try and as I get more examples like this, I will feed them along. We'll do the obvious markup, and then we'll try and move forward with a plan of how do we have a extensible model for documentation for LLMs.
All right, yes, but that's important.
Mhm.
Okay. Very good. Thank you all.
Excellent.
Thanks, folks on the live stream. We have 2 more live streams coming up today. One is the financial framework design. And then after that, we have drumroll, the version 15 rollout live stream. So things to look forward to. All right. Talk to you soon.
Thanks all.